This is ClueCon Weekly, the official FreeSWITCH web show produced and broadcasted directly from FreeSWITCH. ClueCon Weekly features live updates from the FreeSWITCH developers and presentations from various pioneers of communications technology. ClueCon Weekly is brought to you by FreeSWITCH Solutions, the official consulting firm of the FreeSWITCH open source project. Get help from the experts. Visit freeswitch.com. ClueCon, the premier technology conference for telecom, WebRTC, IoT, and all things maker. ClueCon is held every year in Chicago, Illinois, and offers an all-day hackathon and 4 days of technology-rich presentations from developers around the world. Learn more at ClueCon.com or call 877-748-CLUE.
Hi, and welcome to a very special episode of ClueCon Weekly. We have some very special guests for you today, but before we meet them, I have a few announcements. FreeSWITCH has just released version 1.6.15, so head over to freeswitch.org to see the release notes. We're very excited about that. This particular release will be very interesting for those of you interested in Windows. And then ClueCon news, we have speaker signups open. Please submit your speaking proposals. We have a number of proposals already submitted, but spaces are limited, so submit early, get it in. So we can get you considered and get that sorted. We're very excited to announce a new Thursday evening event at ClueCon this year. VoiceTel is sponsoring a Chicago River cruise. It's going to be a lot of fun. Sign up, register, let us know if you're interested in that on your registration. Make sure to register early. Spots for that are pretty limited, so register early, get in and enjoy all the fun. And then FreeSWITCH would like to welcome Allison the VoiceGal to the FreeSWITCH sound prompts. Allison, would you like to say hello?
Hi, everybody. How are you doing?
We are thrilled to announce that we will be adding Allison's voice to the sound prompts. And in order to do that, we have created a GoFundMe page, which you can find in the links below. Donate, help make that happen. We've got some of the cost covered already, almost there. Just if we can get a little bit more community support, we can make that happen. And Allison, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, I'm just really excited about the idea of recording a core set of prompts for FreeSWITCH. We have some ideas of the mood and the feel that we're going to go after, but I'm just so thrilled to be on board and looking forward to meeting more people in the FreeSWITCH community.
Awesome. And might people be able to see you at ClueCon this year?
They definitely will. Yes, I'm thinking already about perhaps ideas of presentations. So yeah, we'll have to get together on that. Yeah.
Very exciting. All right, guys. Well, now let's introduce the rest of our guests. This week, we've got sort of a special call. We've gathered together some of the women in the industry that you may not see very often, or you may see at conferences all the time. So we'd like to, go around and everybody can introduce themselves. Mira, if we can start with you.
Hello, everybody. I'm very happy to be here. I am Mira, and I'm working with Zoiper. I am pretty much the queen of Zoiper, and I'm here with my princess, Joachim. You have to make a sound to get noticed. And I'm very, very happy to be part of this very special call.
Wonderful.
So I'm hoping that, yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Zoa, let's see if you can introduce yourself and talk a little bit.
Yes, I'm Mira's queen today, apparently.
No, you're my princess.
Princess. I dressed up for the occasion. Be very nice with some eyeliner.
Lovely.
Thank you.
All right. I was gonna say next up, Suzanne, would you like to introduce yourself?
Okay, so I unmuted myself. I'm Suzanne Bowen. And I think I'm a good example of extreme diversity sometimes results in a little bit of innovation, because I co-founded Super Technologies DIDX in 1999 with a Pakistani guy. And I've been through the ridicule that we've discussed before, but through it all, I've had so much fun, and it's great to know people via ClueCon and FreeSWITCH. I'm happy to see Allison and to meet some of the new people that I've not met before, like Mira, Yana, Jennifer. I know Kathleen. I just met. I know Ken and Anthony and Brian. And I started another company recently, Suzati. It's a leather jacket brand. We're making a jacket for Brian. And you know Telnix? Their CEO, Dave Kazim, got the Star-Lord jacket that we make. Randy Resnick, you know, he's with VoIP Users Conference. He got the Dean Winchester Supernatural jacket. So that's a little bit about me. I'm happy to be here. I'm probably the oldest one out of everybody.
Very cool. It's nice to meet you. Thank you. Yana, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. So my name is Yana. I work at Atlassian. I'm a software developer, and I've been that for the past 15 years, from which 10 has been in VoIP. I'm also a long-time contributor to the Jitsi open source project. I was a co-founder of the Blue Jeep company that got acquired by Atlassian in 2015. I've been to many conferences. I've attended during the years many open source tech conferences, a few business oriented. I've been going to the IETF for a few years in a row and co-chaired the working group there, so I can talk about my experience and how exciting it is to be in the tech world as a woman, and challenging sometimes. So that's me.
Well, thank you. Jennifer?
Hi, I'm Jennifer. I work for a long distance company. We're called CAS Telecommunications. We're up in Canada. I've been working in telecommunications for about 20 years now, and at CasTel for 16 years, which is a long time. We started out with the legacy big, like the switches take up rooms, but now we're getting more into VoIP, so we use FreeSWITCH and OpenSIPs. I've been to ClueCon 3 times, 2008, 2009, and last year, 2016, and I definitely plan to go in 2017 because it was great. I had a great time and I learned a lot, met lots of nice people. Yeah.
Well, good. Thank you. Celeste?
Ciao everyone, I am Celeste and I live in Amsterdam. I'm living here since 6 years, but as you can surely hear, I'm Italian. And I work for ClickSip as a program manager. So we do develop and maintain different open source projects. Our main one is Homer, and with this we participate at different conferences in the last years. I'm not a speaker myself, but I'd like to, of course, bring my team and participate to the conferences and meet you all guys. Otherwise, I would have not been here now.
Oh, well, thank you. Sharon, would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Sharon. I work with FreeSWITCH. I'm actually the project manager for FreeSWITCH. And I take care of all things ClueCon now. So I expect to see everybody that's here at ClueCon this year, 2017.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, we have a very sort of exciting schedule of things to talk about today. We're excited to see sort of some of the faces that we may not see too often or may see occasionally. And one of the things we'd like to talk about is conferences and how those are a great way to meet people because, you know, ordinarily you might not get to see everybody and they let you sort of meet up in person and network a little bit and get to know the faces of the community in sort of a real way. So yeah, do we if we can go around the room, maybe talk about some of the conferences we've been to, how many times we've been to conferences, which conferences. I'll start. I actually got started with all of this at ClueCon 2014, I believe. So this coming up, ClueCon 2017, will be kind of a big one for me. I went from just volunteering and kind of helping out to helping plan it and doing a lot of sort of the logistics and the legwork with Sharon. So it's very exciting, very cool. We have a lot of cool stuff planned, and I'm excited. I've been to Camellia World. I've been to OpenSIPs a little bit, and I will be going to both of those this year as well. So yeah, it's great. I love them. I think it's a fantastic way to meet people and network. And I'd like to see if we can get more women and more people in general to come to these conferences. So, anybody else like to?
Yeah, I would like to continue. I started working with Joachim and at Zoiper back in 2006. And to be entirely honest with you, I was sent to a conference in 2006, and it was Astricon. And this is where I met fantastic people, and this is exactly when I realized that this is the business I want to be in. It made a huge difference for me, because before that, I wasn't really sure. I also didn't know a lot about the business. I didn't really know anything about software development. So it was a tough time. And conferences really, really enriched my experience, and they allowed me to grow in the business. And my first time speaking on a conference abroad, not in Bulgaria, where I am from, was on FreeSWITCH. It was on ClueCon. I don't know, was it 2013 or 2000? No, it was 2015, I think. It was the first time I spoke on stage. But thanks to the conferences, I was able to stay here, to stay where I am right now. It has been 11 years now.
Oh.
So Joachim, what was your first experience? Oh, we can't hear you.
The very first one was the very first Astricon. I don't even remember where it was. I have vague memories about the whole event. I think Brian as well. I remember roaming the hotel hallways at night with Brian with some stickers somewhere. And then since then, I've been a bit everywhere. I think I've been to Elastic's World, to ClueCon, to TAT Summit, to Mobile World Congress, VoIP Today. What else do we have? I've been a bit everywhere. I had a gap of a couple of years where I didn't go anywhere. Maybe 4 or 5 years or so, and now I'm back and going to places a couple of times a year.
Cool. Well, Allison, I know you've been to Astricon quite a few times. Would you like to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I've been to, I think, pretty much every Astricon. In fact, it has been every Astricon. And ClueCon I did attend. I'm just trying to think of when that was. It could have been 09 or 010.
I think it was 08. At the
Was
Hilton
it?
Garden,
Yeah.
I think it was the Hilton Garden Inn on Grand.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. And of course, IT Expo, usually the one in Miami, or now it's Orlando. I typically attend that one. I didn't this year. And Elastic's World, I've spoken there a couple of times. So apart from that, some sort of voiceover specific conventions like the On Hold Messaging Association and the Voice Care Foundation. But I can't say enough great things about, just as you said, Kathleen, that person-to-person contact with people who hire me to voice systems for them. I usually only have contact with them over email, so it's really great to meet people in person who I only have kind of an online relationship with. So there's really nothing that beats meeting people face to face, and it's so much fun.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, it's exciting. I the first time I met you, I think, was this past year at Astricon, and it was a little surreal putting a face to the name, to the voice. I'd seen pictures of you, but hearing your voice over and over and some of the sound prompts, it was an interesting experience. It was neat. So
Yeah.
it's very
You
good to
know,
meet you.
actually, at one of the AstroCons, I sat next to a guy who was attending a talk by David Duffett, and he put up his hand and he said, is Allison actually a real person? I was literally sitting next to him, so that was kind of a moment of comedy. It's like, hello, I'm right here.
Cool.
Well, for me, Allison, I met you for the first time last year at AstroCon. No, sorry, 2 years ago at AstroCon. And it was the year that you were doing the promotion with the Twitter picture. And I remember I was looking around for taking a picture with Allison, but I was not what I was looking for until I saw you. And I was like, Allison is a real person. I have to take a picture with her. All right. And it was quite an experience, that one as well.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that was fun. Yeah. It's kind of a weird notoriety I have. I don't know. It's not really. It's more notoriety.
Well, Celeste, actually, do you want to talk about sort of the conferences that you put on?
Yes, of course. So I participate at conferences, open source conferences, since the last couple of years, and I have been at Kamail Award, 15 and 16, OpenShift Summit, AstroCon. This year I went as well at VoIP today. And about the OpenShift Summit, and this is actually why I'm more into conferences. Even if I'm not a speaker, I like to organize things. So we are actually co-organizing the summit here in Amsterdam, and it's going to be in the next couple of months. So in the first week of May. And actually, I wish to see you all as well here in Amsterdam with us. And I was forgetting also FOSDEM in Brussels.
Very cool. Jennifer, I know you mentioned that you had been to ClueCon before. Was that your first conference, or had you been to a number of them?
No, it was my first and only conference. I've been to ClueCon. I went to, I don't even know what made us go, but I went and it was great. So we went back the next year, but then we got busy doing all kinds of things not related to VoIP. So it's just lately that we've been back with that and went back. But I don't know if all conferences are as much fun and as educational. I assume they are. So far, I've just been to ClueCon, though.
Cool. Well, Jana, we'd kind of like to hear from you, I guess. What conferences have you been to, and sort of what do you think?
So I'm ashamed to say that I've never been to ClueCon yet, but I'd love to go. I've been to Camellia World as well and FOSDEM about 7 times, I think, 7 years in a row. I've been going to the ITF, as I said before, which is a very special kind of like different maybe kind of conference, and many others actually, and I am just bad with names, so I cannot remember all of them. But I agree with Allison that the best thing about conferences is that you put faces to names, and you meet people, and you meet brilliant people as well, and this is really fantastic.
Awesome. Suzanne, I know you were at ClueCon this past year. What'd you think, and I guess, are you planning on returning?
Of course. This will be my 5th one. I think I go to them like every other year. Sometimes I have to skip a couple of years. I apologize. But in 2016, what I really liked about it is how you guys all worked really hard to keep everyone together and to help people to network and meet each other. And I just realized I forgot to mention Sharon White, project manager. I know her, and she always makes me feel so comfortable at the ClueCons. I really appreciate you, Sharon. I just wanted you to know that. This coming weekend, though, I'm going to Pensacon, which is in Pensacola, Florida. I cannot wait for that. I'm going to be Wonder Woman. And I like Mobile World Congress because I love to go to Barcelona, I admit. I just got back from IT Expo in Fort Lauderdale. It was wonderful. We did the all conference party, and that's where the Telnix guy got the Star-Lord jacket. And I remember Telnix was like a big sponsor for ClueCon, right?
We sure were.
Last year.
Yeah. So it's really fun to meet up with them again. And of course, there are like thousands of others. But ClueCon is more cozier feeling. And I feel like everyone who participates feels welcome. Whereas the bigger the conference gets, when it's like over 1,500, it's a little more difficult. I like communication because I love to go to Singapore. I'm just looking at my little list here. I like ITW because it brings international people in. And I miss Jeff Pulver's Bond shows. But for now, let's do ClueCon.
Well, cool. That leads into Sharon. I believe you've been to a number of ClueCons. Would you like to talk about that?
I've been to quite a few ClueCons, and I started by just helping in the registration area, just helping organize and meet people and whatnot. Actually, Anthony and Jill, Anthony's wife rather, are really good friends of mine. I've known them for 20 plus years. So I was just there to help. I actually took pictures at a couple ClueCons at first, and now I'm doing all of it. So it really is the best of everything for me. I get to do a little bit of see a little bit of everything, even though I'm not really a programmer, or I don't really understand most of it. But I see a lot of it. So yeah, it's really awesome. And I got to go to AstraCon this year, which was an eye opener, to be sure. So
very cool. Well, I think one of the things we'd sort of like to talk about is the fact that there aren't many women at these conferences. I've been to a few myself, and it always seems to be sort of a bit of a novelty. You kind of spot the other woman across the room. You guys make eye contact briefly, and you're like, "Oh, hi." So, I guess we can kind of discuss why that is. I know conferences can be kind of intimidating in some respects, but their benefits definitely outweigh any of the sort of initial anxiety. And yeah, anyone want to sort of maybe give a little insight or into why we think maybe there aren't a lot of women at these conferences?
Well, Kathleen, I always make the joke that there's no lineup at the bathroom at IT Expo because, there's hardly women there. So it's always my hope and dream that women don't stay away from these conferences. I hope there isn't the perception that they're unwelcome or that somehow they don't belong there. I really hope that's not the perception.
Yeah, definitely. I know it can be a little bit intimidating too, especially with the number and the ratios. You walking into a room of 300 plus guys, it's a little startling. But there's definitely a welcoming atmosphere, I think, and I think just for the few I've been to, it's very comfortable once you get there. The build up in your own mind can be a little scary. Mira, you've actually been to a number of different conferences. Do you think some conferences maybe do a better job, or how exactly we can be sort of more inclusive to sort of newer women in the industry or women that just haven't been to conferences before?
I think, I've been to a number of conferences. Actually, I forgot to mention the conferences I've been to. I've been to AstraCon and, of course, to ClueCon, but also ITW. I was there in 2014, and Camellia World. And we have been to the World Mobile Congress in Barcelona. It's just close by. And we have been to TEDx and the TED Summit. And I can't remember all of them. I've also been to a Star Trek fan conference twice. So I've been to such conferences as well, and other marketing conferences here and there. Also to the Web Summit in Lisbon this year. Some of the conferences are, well, actually, for me, it starts with the fact that I'm a little bit introverted, and it's really an effort to be social, and I'm really trying to fake it. But I feel extremely uncomfortable in crowds, also on stage. And what happens to me is my brain gets fried. So I'm not an English native speaker, so I totally forget English language. I just think in my own language. Bulgaria has its own language. Also, the other intimidating factor is indeed that generally these conferences are male dominated. And also, they're generally for really tech savvy people, most of them. So the people there are extremely smart and clever at what they do. I'm more on the organizational side of things. And although I'm doing a lot of things in the office that I can barely cover in one sentence, the only thing I don't do here is generate code. But that doesn't make me entirely confident at what I do still, and I've been in it for 11 years. So, if I don't get this clear to begin with before I even enter the conference, people wouldn't know that, and the perception of me would be a little bit maybe biased. So this is what I would like to fight, and that's the reason I'm here. Well, not really fight. Fight is a negative word. I'm looking for a more constructive one, but I'm a little bit nervous. So yeah, I would really like to make way for other women and other people in general who need this support, because I really needed it at the beginning, and I got it in the office, and I got it on these conferences, meeting the people several times. You get friendly, you get to know them, and they comfort you. Kathleen, you're an example of that. You're really comforting. It's already a pleasure to go to these conferences. It's no longer a hassle. I'm excited to leave and visit them, and I gather much more at these conferences than the discomfort I initially feel.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I think having sort of not a welcoming committee, but also, the sort of welcome and friendly atmosphere it helps make it less intimidating, because it can be very scary kind of walking into a room of the leading industry individuals and being able to hold a conversation. It can be very scary. So does anyone else have anything to add? I mean, you'd like to talk about your experiences maybe, or what a conference may have done to sort of make you feel more welcome?
Well, I do. I have an idea after listening to some of you and having some conversations in the past week after you said you were going to have this talk, that why couldn't there be something that might take an hour where, how you have something like Tad Hack at ClueCon, have something where at every table or a pair of people, one person knows how to code and the other one is just a creative organizer kind of a person, and they have to work together to come up with something new. Why not? Last year, as I watched all the tables working on their projects, I thought, I want to help. I thought maybe I have some skills or value that might help, and they could teach me some of that coding. I love it. I mean, I know a little bit about HTML and some things like that, but so I have something to build upon, and probably all of you would be that same way. So that's my thought. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm actually kind of leading into that, very excited that ClueCon, we've been working on doing sort of an extra day at the beginning. Sunday is usually our setup day, and then Monday comes around and we sort of have a hackathon, and we'd like to kind of push to make that a bit more inclusive. make it so that you don't have to know, a bunch of coding and stuff like that to be able to participate. You can sort of do, games and little fun events that don't require sort of a ton of technical ability. Even if you just, you've been working all week and you don't want to stare at a computer screen even longer. So I think we're going to try and push to do that this year, sort of include some non-technical, fun, sort of little activities. And that way everybody can break the ice a little bit too. It gets people talking. You can meet people at the very beginning of the conference so that, and can introduce yourself early. So I think we're pretty excited about that. So thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. Anyone else have any sort of conference input or thoughts?
I just want to say that that conferences can really be intimidating. That's true. But if we want to answer the question why at the first place there are not many women at conferences, I think that it's probably because there are not many women in general in our field, like in tech. I don't have many female colleagues. In my team there's none, so I'm the only one. So I wouldn't expect at conferences this ratio to change. So it's important to think about what could we do to bring more girls to the tech field and young people, and if some of us are doing teaching or speaking in universities or schools, this is probably where it starts.
Yeah, definitely. And I think having more of us, do the outreach is going to be helpful. Seeing another woman up on stage at a conference giving a talk or even just, coming and meeting you in person, I think will kind of help to break the ice a little bit, make it not such a strange thing.
What I'm thinking? I think that we shouldn't just think about bringing more girls, not just this, bringing more girls to the tech, but also we shouldn't, on top of that, think about how not to push them away. So there are girls who have a lot of interest in the tech industry, but some of them get pushed away. I think that's important that we can keep them there.
Well, you said something earlier about, how you said you're not a coder and you can't code. I think the mindset of people that can't code sometimes can approach problems differently than people that do code. There have been times that I don't solve problems because I'm trapped in a way of thinking that other people may not have. So I started in Asterisk. I didn't know much about coding. I knew a little bit of Perl, and that's, self-taught on the rest of it.
Yeah, so I think.
So don't be afraid to jump in. I mean, it's something to try at least.
Yeah.
And what I think as well here. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, what I think here it would be useful is to create a sort of community that can help people to reach us. Because if I have to think about my experience, I was just in the right place in the right moment. Otherwise, I would have not even known about this environment. We are talking about a very specific market. Or you're a coder and you're a programmer and you work in VoIP, so you know about it. But if you are in the organizational side, like us, it's hard to be involved so deeply. So what I think we should find is a way to make more publicity, let's say, about this market and this business, that there is place in space not only for who is coding, and of course there are female, there are male in I guess that is also cultural related. I guess in some countries or some places there are more or less. But what I think is important is to create also, as Brian was saying, I think it's important to have both the point of view linked together.
I'd kind of like to follow up on Mira's comments, which I think were, as usual, spot on. But where do you suppose this sense of women being turned away in the industry is coming from? I really hope that you are encountering a feeling of openness at conferences, that the men that are attending are receptive to what you have to say. I really hope that there isn't pushback, almost like a feeling of an old boys club. I hope it isn't that feeling. Of course, my perception is a little bit different. I'm a bit of an oddity. I'm definitely non-technical. I describe myself as the whipped cream of the organization. So, can you follow up on that, Mira, and just maybe explain pushback or where you've experienced that, or if you have?
I have more positive experiences than negative, but I do have some negative experiences. But I wouldn't want to concentrate on the negative ones, but I do want to take the time to mention that the worst that could happen is that it could slightly make a person uncomfortable. And if this is the price to pay to attend a conference, it's totally worth it. I feel uncomfortable at most times just because that's who I am. But there are some times when the levels of uncomfortable are a little bit too much. And the reasons are many reasons. There are many reasons. One of the reasons I find, and it's a negative one, is that generally the perception of a person who is not coding is that, and it's just my opinion, I wouldn't want to imply it on anybody, but generally if I'm not coding and if I'm at a conference and it's a male-dominated conference, and if I express an opinion, it would be not taken that seriously, I would put it that way, because I'm not coding, But then again, what Brian said and what Allison said and followed up on, these are different points of view, and they're extremely valuable and important. And this is the cherry on the whipped cream, is that, this is the added value to the conferences, the diversity. It creates and it gives opportunity for innovation and for different thinking and for tolerance and for improvement. And it's extremely important, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think especially in this industry, it takes all sorts to sort of make these projects happen. It's all well and good to have someone that's fantastic at coding and can sit down and just put in thousands or millions of lines of code, but you also have the project managers that have to make sure that things get done correctly, that the timelines are met. You've got the people that need to interact with the customers, the sort of Q&A kind of side of things, and it takes all these different kinds of people to be able to get these awesome projects out the door. And I think having input from all sides is kind of beneficial, because being in the communication industry, you have to learn all sorts of communication and sort of how to make it better, how to innovate and improve. And I think getting different viewpoints and having different insight is incredibly helpful, especially to make that move forward and make it happen.
Also, the community is extremely welcoming indeed.
Yes, that's true.
Along the lines of what Kathleen was saying, during my talk at AstraCon, I said we all work in the communication industry, but we all fail at communicating between each other. And that seems to be a commonality. There's a lot of that going on.
Yeah.
Just think like when you're in a safari or something, when they always say they're just as scared of you as you are of them.
I think that might be true a little bit.
That's very true, actually.
And actually, kind of, leading into that, if any women are out there watching that haven't been to conferences, I can personally speak for this sort of perspective. Yes, it is intimidating walking into a room of innovators and people that are very smart and are creating these amazing things. But sometimes they're just as nervous to talk to you as you are to talk to them. So, don't let that deter you. For me, I put on the confident face and I'm just like, all right, you know what? I'm going to go in and just say hi and start the conversation, because sometimes that's all it takes. And you meet some great people. You just need that initial icebreaker. So.
I think that we can perceive it as a project. If you perceive the confidence as a project, it works better. Then a lot of things we wouldn't take so seriously and so personally.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, Michael Collins, myself, did the bulk of the planning for ClueCon. And you've probably heard Moshe talk at ClueCon multiple times, and he kept telling me, hand over the planning to the women, and that will increase participation. And it has a little bit, and I think it will continue to do so.
Yeah. I think we can kind of learn a lot from each other, and I think once we sort of get past that initial fear or even being a little bit uncomfortable, then it kind of the benefits, as Mira said, definitely outweigh the negatives. And anytime you put 300 plus people in a room together, some of them are not going to get along. So don't let that frighten you away if, that is kind of what you're worried about. Don't let that frighten you away from the conference. There's still, even if that one person just irritates the crap out of you, you have 299 other people to talk to. So, definitely still sort of reach out and join and network.
I would also like to point out that while, to some things are intimidating to others, we at ClueCon try to be as open as possible and accommodating to, in everybody's needs. If you don't know somebody or you need an introduction, don't hesitate to ask somebody at the registration desk who or where somebody is. We'll facilitate that and help you guys out.
Yeah, maybe that's a thing that we can improve on our side in planning the conferences. Maybe sort of having a little bit more of an icebreaker session or something like that, where we arranged a sort of a little fun activity that you can introduce yourself in sort of a comfortable way and sort of meet people without having to step too much outside your comfort zone. I think that's something we can kind of work on. Cool.
I think it's important to also realize that we all come from different backgrounds and different life stories, and we're all human beings. And also we are taking different positions in the companies we're working for and with. So it's important to always have this in mind and just be more tolerant to everybody. It pays back.
Definitely. Well, I think sort of moving on / elaborating on it, going back to sort of the talking about bringing in more women, meaning we need to bring more women into tech in general. I think there's a lot of outreach that we can do, and I think as a whole, as a community, in getting the younger generation sort of involved. The communication industry is huge, and it's only growing, especially as the world gets more global, more connected. It takes me all of 2 seconds to send a tweet to someone all the way across the world. So as we kind of move forward and need more communication, we definitely need more people in the industry to sort of keep innovating and balance that out. And there's all sorts of jobs. I mean, you need project managers, you need people that do the tech, the code, the stuff like that. So there's a lot of opportunity, and I think we can probably, as a community, do a better job of expressing that and letting people know. Especially, actually on the open source point of things, a lot of people that I've talked to started with open source by just playing with it. They just found it somewhere and they were like, oh, cool, I'll just, test this. And you don't even need to know that much about it to start, really. You just sort of grab it, try and set it up or break it, and then try and figure out why you broke it. And that's really where they started. So it's not like, there are classes out there for how to operate every type of open source software. Unless there are. But I think that's sort of the thing. Just have the confidence to just grab it and see what you can do. Sort of from the open source side.
I'm looking at the chat here, and there's a question if there is a generic lack of interest from that demographic. And yes, probably. But again, I'll go back to the previous topic that there should be a reason for that. And I think that we can encourage girls to continue their education and not drop out of such how to say it, from tech schools. I don't know, how's it called? From schools where male-dominated industry topics are studied.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it does sort of start in education, but I also think it's getting outside the box a little. So, Comment mentions that she likes to code, but she's not really interested in phones. Well, one of the things I'd like to do is encourage people that, do code, but don't necessarily want to work with hard phones or things like that. Like there's a lot more that they can do. You've got like the WebRTC, like this, we're all on video and this is entirely in the browser. I think having more people realize that there's more to this industry than sort of just phones, communication as a whole, and I'm speaking, for the entirety of communication. There's a lot more that can be done, and I think getting people involved is a cool thing, especially women who are kind of underrepresented.
Maybe in the conferences, we should think about spaces for entry-level workshops or something really basic level where people can at least have an introduction of the industry.
That's a good idea. Doing some little workshops or videos to sort of outline the basics so that you don't have to, know a whole bunch of stuff before you even get started. I think that would be very handy, yeah.
Yeah, it will be handy in general for everybody. But we have a representative here, Jana. You're not on entry level, are you? And this is extremely interesting. You're a very good example. So that wouldn't really apply to you.
Well, I'm not sure, as you said earlier, we all come from different backgrounds and not only professionally. So I'm not sure if I'm the best example because, so I'm Bulgarian. I've done my first 4 years of my university there, my bachelor degree, and then this is important. Why? Because in Bulgaria, we have something still from communism. Wow. And this is that girls and boys have a quota in the universities. So you get like equal number of on girls and boys. And there's something else as well, is that computer science is really very popular in Bulgaria because it well, you have a lot of job opportunities there, and it's a poor country, so it's important to have job opportunities after you finish university. But I've done my I've done my master's degree in France, and I've lived there for almost 15 years, and then I came to the US, and I can say that it's much of a bigger problem in Western Europe and in the US, that in the tech industry there are not so much women like in Bulgaria. So for once we're at a better place in in Eastern Europe. But yeah, so it's very particular experience that I have, and it doesn't apply to everywhere. I think that what can be done from what I've seen, I've worked for a few years in France in a university as well as an engineer, not a professor there, but still I have some yeah, I have seen what's happening around me, and I think that there is not enough PR in the high school for like there is it's not, tech and computer science is not popular in high school for girls, and I think it's important to make it popular. And it's that's why I said earlier that I think it's important for um, people that are in the industry to go to participate, like volunteer or wherever they live, or participate in events that make this more popular in schools, and not only for boys but also for girls. And another thing that everyone of us can do as well is teach our kids, if we have kids, and make sure that girls are not that we encourage our daughters um, to try and do things in programming, and to make sure they know this is cool and it's awesome, and you can do a lot of things, and it's creative. It's not only technical, it can be very creative, and it can reach a lot of people and do a lot of good at the end. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think reaching out early is definitely going to be beneficial. One of the things we've sort of talked about is, making sure that the stereotype that tech is a boys' activity goes away, because it takes all different types, and there are definitely some women out there doing awesome things in the technical industry. Yana, you being a great example, and actually a number of women here being a great example. So it doesn't have to just be sort of a guy thing, and if we can sort of foster that and prevent them from getting intimidated, I think we could really help that. There are a few, at least in the United States, I'm not entirely sure about Europe, but I know in the US there's a program called Girl Develop It, and it's a series of workshops taught by women in the tech industry, and they teach coding and things in an environment where you don't have to feel intimidated. It's geared towards women, and it's geared towards sort of bringing women into an environment where they don't have to sort of feel like they're competing or maybe feel intimidated by their male counterparts. It's meant to sort of get the ball rolling where you teach them the basics or even some more complicated things, and teach them in a place where they can then go out and take the lead on learning more. So I think programs like that are going to be incredibly helpful. Anyone else have any thoughts on how we can kind of get more women into the tech industry as a whole?
Maybe we should invite the high schools as well with some, I don't know, free tickets or opening days at the conference. So they have a real touch of the industry just coming out of the school, where it's important to see, you know, for example, in my personal experience, the hard choice finishing the high school was that I had no idea what was outside there. So if we can invite the school and give them an idea of what can be a professional a job afterwards, that maybe can be already something that push even girls to come in this industry.
Yeah, I like that. Definitely seeing, the conferences, what we can do to make that more sort of inclusive. I think having high school students is great, because it does show like a real world example of a job that you might not hear about ordinarily. You don't see a lot of sort of communication industry jobs in movies and television. I mean, you might see like call center jobs or something very briefly, but I can't think of an example of anything in sort of the media or popular culture where it's the people designing the systems that the call centers are using or anything like that. So yeah, I think maybe that's a good step, having some of these people come to the conferences and see, and that would be a great way for them to meet people in the industry. I like that idea. Cool.
Maybe like a senior conference call, where you have a conference call with the schools.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I think, yeah, that would let them sort of see sort of the innovating technology too. Not because, at least from my perspective, when I was in high school, I used the most popular things that all my friends were using. So I didn't hear about any of the sort of smaller, newer things until years into them existing. Because I didn't have time to go search for the latest and greatest in whatever. So yeah, that would be pretty cool too, because you can sort of reach out and.
Didn't you guys recently go and speak at a college?
No, we're setting some things up right now, but not yet, unless you're talking about IIT.
The one in Chicago.
IIT, yeah.
That's actually a conference coordinated by a college, and they sort of set it up to have people come in and talk to the students, and it's really geared towards college students, I think. And they get to sort of present a little bit of what they've been doing and hear from people in the industry from what they've been doing. So it's like a job fair kind of conference, but it links the people together. So yeah, I think more of that would be good. Definitely. Anyone else have any thoughts or comments or points they'd like to get out there?
What we do here in Bulgaria with some of my friends, well, it's not really VoIP related, but what we do to encourage all kinds of people get involved in anything for us, according to us, meaningful, which would be sciences, is that we do some meetups or gather-ups. We set a location and we do a little Facebook group or any social media group where we can gather people and communicate it with them. Then we communicate with the local, whatever it would be. It could be a restaurant, or it could be a co-working space, or it could be a little coffee shop that we would close or just leave open. And we would discuss all kinds of worthy worldwide matters, including news and new ideas in IT, and participating in such groups that are not entirely VoIP directed is a good way to go. And I really like these meetings, and on some of these meetings, I was able to find some of our best employees, actually. Because it's a particular specific mindset that we're looking for. And we find it in these meetups.
Yeah. And I think that's sort of another point. Like, there's all sorts of jobs needed for this. You know, I mean, look at this panel. Everybody kind of does something different. So, you know, you've got Allison who does like the voice prompts, and Mira and Sharon and Celeste, you guys like, you know, manage these teams of developers. And so there's, you know, there's so much variety in what you can do. So it doesn't take just sort of one kind of person to, or one kind of mindset to be in this industry. So I think it's helpful.
I have a message from Ole Johansson, who couldn't make it to our meeting, but he sent me a message, and he didn't allow me to read it out loud, but I'm going to do so. So he says, "It is sad that the group is needed, but very good that you are taking these steps forward. I strongly believe that we can make awesome services and products by having all gens involved in the process and actually earn more money. For me, there are business perspectives as well as the usual human beliefs involved. I think it's important to have this way of looking at it. Our users do not belong to one single male gender, so the people creating the products should neither." I think it's a very good point.
Yes. Well said. Yeah. And I think, you know, communication industry, we have to learn all the different ways of communicating. So very cool. All right. Well, I think we're kind of reaching that time. Would anybody else like to get any little last minute points in, or any last minute questions or anything like that before we stop the recording?
I think that we can just finish with a little advice to everybody who wants to attend the conferences, disregarding the gender. It is an awesome environment. You should definitely do it if you can. Conferences are definitely bringing in more business, so you need to find a way to attend them and be active during conferences. So it is extremely important, whether you're a girl or a boy, a woman or a man, or anything else you want to be, or you are, just try attending the conferences. It makes a huge difference. The discomfort is minimal, and the environment is very welcoming, and everybody participating and organizing the conferences would be happy to have you there. And the final thing that I would like to say is that if anybody wants to discuss anything in relation to conference participation, I can leave my contacts, even my personal contacts here, and I would be happy to answer and address such questions.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Yeah, I'd like to throw it out there. If you come to the conferences and you're feeling a little uncomfortable, you're unsure, feel free to find me, or contact me, and I will, you know, make you feel welcome. I'll see what I can do about sort of making it fun. So awesome. Well, thank you guys. I think we had a great call today. Thank you for joining me, each and every one of you. And I hope to see you guys at ClueCon. Actually, as I wrap up the announcements or the ending announcements, I was hoping that we could probably do something like this panel again at ClueCon. Maybe, one of the slots have a panel of women that can come and sort of talk to people and see a little bit of everybody and be a face, a welcoming face. So if you guys would like to join me at ClueCon, that would be fantastic. And we can recreate this in person, which I think would be really cool. All right, next week we have, let me jump over my calendar really quickly. We have a wonderful guest. We will be seeing Emil Ivov from Atlassian. So join us next week. Be sure, right back here, 888conference.freeswitch.org/VC if you'd like to call in and use the video. We also have a few different ways to connect. You can find that on our Confluence page, and I will be tweeting connection information, so keep an eye out for that. And thank you guys for joining us.